Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Friday, which means it's Nonsense Day. It's November 15th, 2024. Also a little bit of AI. Tiny bit. And then we get to nonsense.
More and more AI every week.
Yeah.
Just like
Long
the world.
section.
And this is an interesting one because when it comes to whistleblowing, the whistleblower laws are fairly specific. Like you have to be whistleblowing corruption or, falsifying documents, dodging regulations. You can't just blow a whistle and say, trying to destroy humanity. So the AI whistleblowers, they don't know what to ask for.
The headline is AI workers seek whistleblower cover to expose emerging threats. But this article, we've done stories, a lot of stories, of whistleblowers that should be protected under whistleblower laws. And often they are not. And so this is saying, I'm of two minds. I got some whiffs of propaganda from this in the sense that there's a lot of companies that are very threatened by the potentially disruptive AI and they want to pump the brakes on it. And certainly companies that are in industries that can be automated by AI are ginning up a lot of those kinds of fears. So, but it's going to be done one way or the other. So, I don't know. Did you get any hints off of this that it was just a bit of malfeasance in terms of, I don't believe that anybody would be in a position to blow the whistle in that kind of a way unless the company were explicitly working on, we should build an AI agent that figures out which people to kill.
Well, they could certainly OpenAI. Maybe they're not destroying the world, but they completely sold us one thing. And then when they became huge, they were like, oh no.
Charity?
None of that.
Goodness for humankind? No.
But what about the guy that was fired from Google? His concerns, they painted him like he was a crazy person, but his concerns seemed well articulated and perhaps a bit premature, but...
I think both were true.
Yeah.
Those are real threats, and he was a crazy person.
But not protected under any whistleblower, any existing or contemplated whistleblower laws. Is that,
Well, is this the greatest ever squatting on a domain in history? I think this might take the record.
OpenAI just spent more than $10 million on a URL. Chat.com goes exactly where you'd expect it to.
I like that they've put it as a question in this headline, but yes, the answer is yes.
And it was more like 15 million.
I don't see the value there.
No.
There were some amazing memes that were posted online. It was like, the CFO of OpenAI was like, you spent what? On what?
It's really easy to think that who is living under a rock and they don't know what OpenAI is at this point, right? But when we get to the nonsense section, there's a story that might make you rethink that.
There's some amazing nonsense this week. And we're not talking about just the rhesus monkeys either.
And when it comes to, the cycle of AI propaganda, we are completely done with it's not going to take jobs. Because now we have headlines like this.
This is insane.
Perplexity CEO offers an AI company's services to replace the striking New York Times staff. Hey, we've got some trained stuff on writing. Would you like?
But it's not it's the tech team, which makes this even more confusing. Because it's aren't you offering essentially to automate your own jobs away eventually?
Now, the tech team went on strike right before the election, which was a power play. You need some tech during the heaviest time that your paper will ever get hit. And this guy was accused of being a scab because that takes away the power from them there. This does feel a little scabby. And also, the other thing, it's not going to take our jobs, but also we're not depending on it for really important stuff, right? We're just using it to reformat emails, and it's harmless. But someone has leaked some training documents that might contradict that.
Leaked training shows how doctors in New York's biggest hospital system are using AI. And it's not, this to me didn't seem like the doctors were using AI in a terribly unreasonable way. But I can see why it might make patients and other doctors nervous.
Well, there were a couple of things in here where they were letting it look at scans and stuff and make decisions.
So, and Krista, as our resident house expert, you're going to have to weigh in here.
I've watched a lot of television about doctors, so.
I think the danger here would be that somebody evaluates a patient and it's like, oh, this is a staph infection. and I don't want to write up all the verbose stuff about a staph infection. And so they do, and then they have the Chat GPT, write up a lot of stuff as like, standard issue, like whatever notes you would add for that. But the AI adds a lot of details that were not actually there in the patient. And when, something unusual happens with that patient and it is a house type situation, a doctor looks at that and it's like, oh, the first doctor observed something that is very consistent with a staph infection, but it wasn't actually something the first doctor observed. It was just something inserted by the thing. Because when you say staph, you usually see these things.
Well, last week we talked about the transcription service that inserted the terror knife.
Yeah. And it's like, should I submit this patient for a psych evaluation? And then it's like, oh, that had nothing to do with whatever their problem was.
And AI it's being inserted everywhere that it can,
I was upset by this.
Especially at Microsoft, because clearly Microsoft has invested everything into this, and no product that they sell will be left without it.
Even Microsoft Notepad is getting AI text editing now.
I don't want it.
Again, it's that I can type some words here, I need this, and then it can translate it into actual language, because we've lost the ability to communicate with each other with words.
I want something like, sometimes I just open Notepad because like I need to paste something without formatting. That's all I want. I don't need your AI BS on top of it.
You know what's a crime? When I get a message from you that is way more words than you needed to tell me the thing that you needed to tell me. Mm-hmm. But I'm also very guilty of that myself.
And Waymo is... they got their self-driving cars, and that is actually not AI, at least not like language model AI, but they're saying, hey, there's room for it.
Waymo explores using Google's Gemini to train its robotaxis. I would not have believed this, but I saw a demo, and I don't know if this was true. Did you see the construction site demo where somebody just took their cell phone and walked through a construction site, and then they fed the video to something, and the prompt was, hey, look through this video and tell me all the OSHA violations. And it did a reasonable job. It's like, this should have had a barrier, and this is not safe, and this is a thing, and this is whatever.
Maybe that's why Musk doesn't like OpenAI anymore.
Well, I don't think he likes OpenAI anymore because they got rid of him and went the other way.
No, he's upset because it's flagging all the times he got rid of yellow in his factories.
I don't know if that video was even real, but that is probably something that is aligned with the future people are building right now, which is an interesting future.
Well, I don't know if that video was real. It's something that we're all going to be living for the rest of our lives. And over at Disney, obviously their videos aren't real. But the question of, did a human even have any hand in this, is going to be a big one going forward.
Disney forms dedicated AI and XR group to coordinate company-wide use and adoption. It expects to grow the office technology enablement to about 100 individuals. So Disney's leaning all in. They think that they can build some amazing experiences using AI and stuff.
They need to pump out more slop.
I didn't get the impression that it was, we're going to make, The Little Mermaid 37 as much as it was, we could build an individualized Little Mermaid experience to really, really mess with somebody's psyche.
No, they're making magical places on Earth.
Well, it's magic. It's dark magic.
You sell a little of your soul every time you use it.
Blood magic.
Like Disney literally has figured out the Hasbro model. It's like, oh, this is a thing we can do to children's psychology. Let's lean into that.
Or maybe it's like, what is it? Masters of the Universe figurines, where you have like a different one.
Yeah.
They'll use AI to make figurines like that.
Yeah.
Just for you.
Yeah, tailored to you.
That's going to be a crazy collectible scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Prime Video is also not immune. They have to give you AI whether you want it or not.
Prime Video will let you summon AI to recap what you're watching.
Krista, you got to love this, right? Because that's how you consume TV.
I'm puzzled by this, though, because they said it would not give you spoilers. And I was like, if I'm watching a recap or if I'm reading a recap, I want spoilers.
I don't think they're going to be able to stop it, right?
Yeah.
A human would have to go behind it and make sure.
That makes no sense to me.
I mean, they spoil with action figures these days.
You ever reread a book that you've read a bunch of times and then notice a lot of little things and it's like, oh, that was a really clever thing that I should have picked up on the first time. The AI thing might be useful for that.
I've read books that I read when I was a teenager, and I was like, oh, I was dumb. I didn't understand any of this. There's some themes in here that I didn't even
pick
fathom.
up on, yeah.
And Netflix, as we said, they fired everybody from their gaming division. They've gotten rid of their interactive titles. Why would they do that?
Netflix bullish on Gen AI for games after laying off human game developers. Okay.
The executive they interviewed, I looked him up and like, I think he mostly did like point and click adventure stuff before, and I was like, well, I guess that makes sense.
But it's a very casual crowd,
Yeah.
right? You're playing with your remote. That makes sense. And the time has come, however, only for a very specific group of people. I'm afraid that I won't get this anytime soon, but I'm so ready.
Really?
Amazon starts drone deliveries in Arizona, and that is not at all the kind of drone that I imagine they would be using.
It's a very strange looking one, isn't it?
Are you
Yeah.
against this?
No.
No, Krista.
I don't know if I want this. It's noisy. I don't want that noise in my neighborhood.
One of the level 1 benchmarks for we're living in the future was I can have TP delivered by drone while I'm on the throne.
And it's up to 5 pounds, so you could get the small package.
Yeah. It's like a $20 Amazon fee, emergency TP now. How badly do I run my life that I run out of TP?
We found out a lot of people in 2020 poorly managed their lives.
Yeah, I didn't keep a big stockpile, but I didn't find it that hard to find. I did have to go to brands that I didn't like.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
The emergency.
Fabulous.
Well, should we let our children be raised by robots? Obviously, your knee-jerk reaction is no, but right now, it seems that no one's raising them. So could it be an improvement?
Toddlers show increased physical activity with a robot playmate moving around the room. Just like a laser with a cat toy.
It's almost exactly like that, right? However, my cats won't go for the automated toy at all.
Really?
That I have to be playing with it.
Even the spinny one with the feather?
Even the spinny one. I know a little while, but then eventually they were like, no, I understand what this does. Human babies, not so much. They had 2 groups. Well, they had 3 groups. They had one with no robot, one with a robot with a PlayStation controller that the parents were running, and one fully autonomous robot. There was no difference between the second 2.
Wow.
Babies were totally fine. The autonomous robot, if they approached it, it would make noises and blow bubbles.
Oh, kids love
Oh,
bubbles.
my cats would love that too.
So the autonomous robot bear from Steven Spielberg's classic film AI is what we need to build.
Well, they built it.
I noticed that they had the Chinese spot robots on clearance on Amazon for like $2,500, and it was like, oh.
Oh yeah, but that's calling home. You have to lock down the network pretty good on that.
But he needs something to bring his drone TP from the porch to the bathroom.
It would be, that sometimes the dog will get the mail, but it'll shred it.
Yeah.
Now, we've not had a black hole story in some time, but I could not pass this one up. Now, this is amazing. The accretion disk, when a black hole is just gobbling in as much food as it can, it's basically a traffic jam at its mouth
There's too much.
that controls how much it can eat. We were wrong about that.
This black hole is eating stuff at over 40 times the theoretical limit.
Spinning through space closer and closer to us.
The Eddington limit. So it's like the pressure of the heat from all of the matter gathered at the event horizon, like all of the light coming off of that should be so much light pressure that this black hole starves itself, and yet it continues to consume at 40 times the theoretical limit. This could only happen if it formed in the early universe, and this is a very distant object.
So the guess is when it first starts eating, it can go way over the limit that we thought.
When it's a part of a new universe.
Probably a separate universe as ours. It's one of the Mandela universes. Probably.
It's a happier universe.
That's what triggers a shift into an adjacent Mandela universe, is every time we poke one of those.
And here was a little bit of a mystery that I don't think has been solved.
I saw this somewhere else before I saw it here.
There was a story about one guy going. Now we find out it was everybody. I don't want to raise any alarms. Could it be xenomorphs?
I was thinking Andromeda Strain.
Mystery as 4 NASA astronauts are rushed to the hospital without explanation after returning from space. It was the celebratory break room cake. They cheaped out. They didn't get an ice cream cake. It was the discount white cake, and it was just not good.
That gel icing. Ugh.
They went on. They talked to their medical AI. It's like, if I've been in space for the last 6 months and I'm peeing blood.
It's over. They were over 6 months, wasn't it? Because it
Yeah.
said that was the most that they'd ever had before. It was
All right,
6 months.
because they were the stranded ones.
Yeah. So they don't know. There's no. If you're wondering why we're not telling you what their symptoms were, it's because we don't know. NASA hasn't told us yet.
Well, they shouldn't.
Yeah, that is their medical.
Yeah.
But I am personally interested.
I
I
wanna
want to
know.
know.
We hope they're okay. We
Yeah.
hope it really was the break room cake.
Yeah, not something that happened in space.
And we actually remember we talked about when they were building this thing. Well, they built it and they sent it up and it works.
World's first wood-paneled satellite launched into space and is fully operational.
We were talking about the 70s earlier.
this fully operational 900-gram Battlestar is ready to go.
It is like it's still kind of heavy for what it is. And they're so like, well, maybe it's not the best thing, but the great thing about it is it will mostly burn up when it falls out of space.
Less space junk.
And in space, none of the things that destroy wood exist. So it should be fine. Until, the Boeing satellite debris hits it and blows it up. Now, this is the one that's like earlier, we're talking about, do people not know that OpenAI exists? Well, some people are operating just totally, like they don't pay attention to anything. I don't blame them for it.
I didn't think this was real until I saw it on Google Trends.
I envy them on some levels, maybe. But
Think how happy they are.
It's an astonishing level of ignorance about the world around you.
Did Joe Biden drop out? Google searches a spike on election night, suggesting many Americans had no idea he wasn't running.
Meanwhile, I was Googling, where is Lena Khan? Is she okay?
I read this story, like I thought this was no, this is, you go to Google Trends. But then also I thought of my Socrates. Remember Socrates? And Socrates was like, oh, we should never do a true democracy. You should only be able to vote if you really put the time in to understand things. And it was like, oh, this is not what Socrates would have wanted.
Although, once I feel like I have way more understanding of the political landscape than those people do. How much does that mean for me?
It was just
And it's like a fire hose of information. How do you determine what's relevant, too?
I mean, am I going to enact any real change with that information?
Yeah.
Am I just making myself more miserable?
Yeah, I'm just going to be sadder and or
Yeah.
need more hate naps. I don't know. It's just...
We got somebody complained that we were doing anti-communist propaganda last week when we talked about the Halloween story. So we still have the little pinks visiting our comment section. Here's another opportunity for you.
Hong Kong government should display baby photos in offices to encourage civil servants to have children, a lawmaker says. They do appear to have actually said that. Perhaps this person can explain why this is propaganda. Is it propaganda to encourage people to have children?
I think it's irresponsible.
It's like, well, we need more like work-life balance. We need to be able to afford childcare and extra food and education and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. We'll just put up some pictures in the office so you want to have a baby. Easy.
And I am not up to speed on my Nigerian scandals, but this one seems kind of insane. And maybe along the same line, it seems like that there was some really serious government corruption. Some people went to the streets to talk about it, and kind of like Hong Kong, bad things happened.
Nigeria drops treason charges against children after outcry. And there was a protest, but like the archive footage of this protest, it doesn't seem like it was an unreasonable protest. Like, did you see what happened in Portland? Things got a little out of hand in Portland. This doesn't seem like it was at all that. But these like 14-year-olds were brought up on treason charges, which doesn't make any sense at all.
So also, when they were brought into court, apparently they collapsed because they had not been fed during their incarceration.
That was a problem.
And because of that, public outcry was enough that they were like, all right, we're going to let the kids go. But only the kids.
They will now be scarred for life.
Now, this is interesting because as an American, I read this headline and I was like, they're probably doing that now, right? Because that's what we do. We let our prisoners build things for major corporations. But apparently this was not now. This was in the past. And they're sad about it.
IKEA will pay 6 million euros to East German prisoners forced to build their furniture in a landmark move. This was in the 80s and
East German.
92. When was the collapse of East Germany? Was that like 92, 96, somewhere through there? I've forgotten.
The Berlin Wall, yeah, that's that
know.
was prior to that, right?
80s, late 80s, somewhere through there.
But during that time, if you did not agree with the communists, you went into the work camps and you made some beautiful IKEA furniture.
Does this mean that the companies that are responsible for lead contamination in, past the 1970s are also responsible for that? And we will see them remedy that situation?
Doesn't that mean that IBM and Volkswagen should be paying some money?
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going with that.
Here's an insane story, and be careful about taking, like the social media challenges. This wasn't even that. This was just some people just having some fun in the parking lot.
Man died after friends dared him to sit on a box of fireworks to win an auto rickshaw.
Oh,
This was in India, and I feel like some friends maybe took advantage of their one friend. I was like, all right, I'll do it, whatever. And it's like, this was a dangerous, terrible situation, and he died.
In fact, deadly, and probably a really bad way to die, too.
Yeah.
It says something about where we're from that I read that and was like, that sounds like something that could happen in Eastern Kentucky. And then you're like, oh, it's in India.
Yeah, it's literally the origin place of Hold My Beer.
Well, if you are bicycling around, you, of course, have to be very defensive because the other things on the road can easily kill you, especially the really big ones.
Ambulance hits an Oregon bicyclist, rushes him to the hospital, and then sticks him with the $1,800 bill for the ambulance ride, the lawsuit says. Dude also racked up $40,000 of hospital bills and was 71 years old and is probably going to have another $50,000 of medical bills. He's asking for $997,000.
Man, that sucks if you're 71. It looks like he's in pretty good shape here, other than,
He probably was in great shape if he was cycling around.
Cycling around? Yeah, it's like, I'm doing everything I can to make my last years great, and then you just get smushed by an ambulance.
Apparently that's a big problem in Lexington. Not the ambulance part, but like cyclists getting hit in Lexington.
Oh, Lexington is famously, like, they're just simply not enforcing traffic laws right now.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't
a lawless
matter.
wasteland.
Yeah. Now,
Speaking of a wasteland.
Well, we talked about the white balls, right?
That was up in Canada, right?
This is different.
This is industrial waste plus fatbergs.
But there's balls everywhere. There's beach balls.
Sydney identifies disgusting balls that shut down the beaches. So this was stuff from the ocean that was washing up. They thought it was fatbergs at first, and it turns out it is fatbergs, but it's also industrial solvents and cleaners and other like chemicals like that have formed these amalgams that have washed up on the beach, and they smell terrible, and they the descriptions are colorful and terrible.
Yeah, this is a good article. Like if you don't want to eat, maybe read this.
My favorite thing about this is that they were full of drugs.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, drugs? Why? Is there smuggling? No. It's the drugs that you take that you poop out. And based on the kind of drugs and the level of drugs here, we believe this was a very affluent neighborhood.
And their poop's just out in the ocean.
Some sewage line has failed catastrophically.
Yeah.
This one was terrifying because at first it's like, oh my God, there's an axe attack. But then there's more details that make it even crazier.
Axe attack on Paris train leaves 4 teens injured, including one that lost a hand.
Oh.
And no one knew how to stop a crazy person wielding an axe, which was a 16-year-old apparently.
One had their skull split open.
But here's the crazy part. The axe was not the only weapon. There were baseball bats, knives, and a katana.
Was this like the scene in Anchorman where they all pull out different...
It's something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody literally lost a hand.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
But my other favorite thing about this is because this was between trains, none of the trains were slowed down by this. They had it all cleaned up by the time the next train came in.
Why does it smell like bleach in this car?
No, this was on the platform.
Oh, okay. It wasn't even in the... I thought it was on the train.
At least in Anchorman, they had the unwritten rule not to mess each other's faces up.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course.
Now, this story confuses me because, I don't know, I just don't see any warning signs here. Do you? I'm not sure how anybody could have predicted this.
Houston mother accused of trying to sell her newborn to the highest bidder on Facebook. Hopefully, that child is in foster service now. She's been arrested.
So, she posted on Facebook that she was going to have to give up a child and she was looking for somebody to take it. A little bit of a warning, it's going to test positive for drugs. And then some people reached out and they were like, oh my God, let me take care of that baby because Jesus, you cannot raise it. And she immediately, based on the Facebook records, started asking for money. It was like, yeah, this is not a free baby.
Not free to a good home.
Which is sad. And here's an interesting one in terms of like, how entitled can two human beings actually be?
This is kind of horrifying.
The answer will shock you.
Vancouver couple drops their lawsuit against an Irish nanny for quitting. So the Vancouver couple drafted a contract and said, we need you to be a nanny for this long. This is the pay. Please don't quit. We really, and contract is a contract is a contract, but they thought they were Rumpelstiltskin or something because the Irish nanny they worked for a while and then said, I'm out with 6 weeks left to go. And so the Vancouver couple sued the Irish nanny. Well, they've dropped the suit after attracting a lot of unwanted attention at the unreasonableness.
There's a comparison to like indentured servitude here, isn't it? Like,
well, you have to give damages, right? This guy was a lawyer, so he knew what he was doing. So one of the damages that he cited was she didn't say goodbye to the children, which traumatized them. The other damage was that she didn't go until December, which is going to ruin the holidays for the children. I don't understand her reasoning, though. They claim one day the father was sick, so he stayed home, and he was like, oh, you can just go home today. But they paid her for that day. But that was the reason she quit?
It's weird. Yeah.
I think there's probably more to that, right?
Yeah, I suspect that couple was probably maybe not a great employer.
Oh, well, you read that lawsuit, you can tell they were really annoying people, for sure. And when you are doing undercover work, it's important to stop before you start committing crimes. Like you can pretend that you're going to commit the crimes, but when it comes down to the moment, you have to control yourself.
13 Lewisville officers disciplined after inappropriate contact during prostitution busts.
Put on leave with pay.
Yeah, you can literally imagine what they did. The prosecutor was like, I can't bring a case because you kept going after you had enough evidence.
Now, the disgusting thing here, that this shows you the state of our country, is after they threw this case out, they had to give back $270,000 and 2 cars that they seized. Asset forfeiture. Which is probably the real reason they were interested in the girls. And if you don't follow the IRL streamers, don't start. It's a horrible black hole. And this is maybe the worst of them.
South Korean police arrest American YouTuber for his safety. He was causing trouble and doing please no, please no.
He is someone who just simply tries to get as much attention as he can by being horrible. He's been kicked out of Japan. He's been kicked out of Israel and now arrested in Korea. The thing about the Koreans is there were other Korean IRL streamers who decided to hunt him.
The most dangerous game.
So they're claiming this is just protective custody. I imagine they're just trying to get him deported.
That'd be a great miniseries.
It's entertaining. Some of that stuff's entertaining.
I mean, I don't want to watch it IRL, but like imagine like a hunt, but it's like a digital hunt like that.
One headline that I read suggested that it was kind of protective custody, but they said, look, we've got enough stuff here that you could be facing 10 years, but we just
go away.
We just want you to leave and not come back.
Which is a smart thing for them to do. And up in Ohio, it seems that everybody is armed with, this is like kids in the 80s, right? Everybody
with
wanted
ninja stars, yeah.
Elderly man fends off machete attack with his nunchucks. We don't have a lot to go on here, but as an elderly man that was walking through a neighborhood, and he seemed to think that one of his friends that he hadn't talked to in forever lived somewhere in the neighborhood, and so he was going door to door knocking on doors. So he knocked on this one door and said, hey, does Bob live here? And it's like, no, there's no one named Bob. And he said, oh, okay. And so he left. And then this other dude comes, this is like an 80-year-old. And so like the 60-year-old.
No, the 80-year-old was the door knocker.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. And then the 60-year-old comes out wielding a rusty machete. And
it's not glorious.
Is chasing the elderly person after he's already left and is knocking on the door of the next door neighbor. And so the police arrested the 60-year-old for assaulting the 80-year-old, and the 80-year-old fortunately had defensive nunchucks.
But here's the thing, right? He's not just going door to door. He's going door to door with nunchucks.
Well, he didn't want to stay strapped.
I mean, if he was keeping those in his back pocket, that's fine. Although
I don't think it is. I don't think it's legal, right?
But no, there's people around here that walk with a sidearm. That's
I guess if he's carrying them openly.
yeah,
Maybe
Open carrying
open
nunchucks.
carry nunchucks.
And this is an interesting one because this case seems sloppy, but at the same time, she seems guilty as sin, and so does the husband.
Florida's convicted killer clown released from prison, and the story that this newspaper, CNN, whatever, has written, whoever wrote this, yeah, she does. There's more than a preponderance of evidence. If I'd read this and I was going to be on the jury, I wouldn't be allowed to be on the jury because of this article.
The biggest one for me is she was cheating with the husband who owned a car dealership. Her getaway car was stolen from the same car dealership the day before.
That's wildly convenient.
And there were clown hairs in it. Now that could be planted. Also, this is crazy because she dressed up as a clown, went to the woman, knocked on the door, had balloons. The wife answered the door and she gave her the balloons. She was like, "Oh my God, these are so beautiful," and then just blasted her in the face. But they gave her the balloons first.
What a terrible darkness.
Well, she's back with us. She's out there running around, clowning around.
Florida, not even once.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that I just avoid Florida.
And, stories about the government taking your pets and killing them. Well, we're seeing more and more of those, aren't we? It's sad. There's a tiny bit of justice, I suppose.
11-year-old girl wins $300,000 after police seize and slaughter her pet goat. The wildest thing about this is that when this news article reached out to ask, what did you do wrong? The prosecutor said, we didn't do anything wrong. And as evidenced by the case, the family dropping the case. And then the reporter was like, well, didn't you give them $300,000? Yeah, they didn't want to go to trial. And it's like, but if they don't want to go to, okay. Sounds good.
This is an interesting story. So you know how they do like the 4-H?
Yeah.
Like you got to learn how animal husbandry and, the realities of being a farm girl. So she put her goat up to be auctioned off. But she got the idea that like it wasn't a prize goat and they were just going to eat it.
Her grandparents died. And because of that, according to this, that she became attached to the goat. Because during this, her grandparents died or whatever.
So she was heartbroken at the idea that the goat was going to be killed. So they withdrew the goat. But the guy that ran the auction was like, no, she must learn the farm lessons. We will have the goat. They took the goat to another location to try to hide it.
200 miles away.
And the deputies went and got it.
Yeah, and the prosecutor also said that because they didn't have jurisdiction to do that, but the farm was like, I guess, here you go. And the prosecutor said because the farm handed it over willingly, not because officers were lying through their teeth probably about the circumstances of needing the goat, that no crime had been committed, which is another thing where it's like, show me the search warrant.
Now, the other crazy thing about it, so the last line of that story, they say that the little girl's getting $65,000. Does that mean the rest of the 300 is going to the lawyers?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, that's the travesty of justice right there.
Maybe by the time she gets to be college age, that'll pay for 1 year of tuition.
No, not even close. That's not even going to pay her AI fees.
That's like 3 months of groceries.
And if you're running around in, where was this?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Watch
You're
out.
You're going to be around there soon.
Oh, you might get monkey bit.
You've been bit by a tick.
43 monkeys escape South Carolina research facility. Police warn residents to secure their doors and windows. The article was hopeful that they'll be able to lure most of them back. They had already lured some of them back with the promise of apples.
These were young monkeys that weren't old enough to be tested yet. So they've got a long, rich life of being medical tested ahead of them.
Well, I think they will probably, this is sad, but they'll probably just be put down because they've been exposed to outside
knows what.
pathogens.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Sweet air of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Can't let them have it. And we can't let the mosquitoes keep breeding incessantly. And we can't really figure out how to stop them, but this apparently works.
Novel way to beat the dengue fever. Deaf mosquitoes stop procreating.
I think eventually life would find a way, right?
Yeah.
I think they'll figure this out.
I'll sense the vibrations of like wings or something.
Well, that's how it works.
Yeah.
They do it on the wing for up to a minute. That has to be like a long straight path, right?
I guess, yeah.
I bet a lot of mosquitoes run into stuff and die during copulation. And this one is literally just a story about a picture, but it's a great picture.
Mynah bombs motorway camera in New Zealand, and netizens amused. Mynah, the type of bird.
Mynah.
It does look angry. Like, what are you doing? No, apparently it was just screaming at the traffic camera the whole time.
Engagement challenge, caption this photo.
Maybe that's the sound it makes. I should look it up.
And
Oh, I love this.
yeah, this one, that was about an image. This one's just about a video.
Raccoon drops from ceiling at LaGuardia Airport and goes on the run, freaking people out. It was at Spirit Airlines because where else would it be?
Delta, maybe.
There's not much to it. He falls behind the little divider back there, and we lose track of it.
Delta really has gone downhill since they stopped having Cincinnati be the hub. It's depressing.
And here's something a happy note to end on, because everybody loves Moo Deng, and Moo Deng is going to grow up quickly.
Baby Haggis, the new Moo Deng hippo, pygmy hippo, is born in Edinburgh.
I didn't switch the camera.
You didn't switch the camera. That was that the whole time.
Oops. Well, that's okay. That means they get more screen time with baby haggis.
But NPR gave us 2 images.
Listen, I've had a lot of tea, and my kidneys have done their job, so it is time to go.
2 images is not enough. What was this little guy's name? I don't remember.
Haggis.
Oh, yeah, Haggis.
Baby haggis.
It was in the title.
Look how cute he is.
Interestingly, isn't haggis meat stuffed in sheep intestine?
It is kind of a weird name, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like, is this pygmy hippo? It's like it has nothing to do with meat stuffed in sheep intestine.
Maybe it's like a secretly violent
But-
name because Moo Deng was super violent.
Yeah, these little hippos do kind of look like, like it's been stuffed into a case.
Yeah.
They kind of look like a sausage.
They're really cute.
A cute death sausage.
I don't want to judge this one yet, but I feel like he's not on Moo Deng's cute level. Maybe he needs to grow a little bit.
Yeah,
he
it
might
needs to be a
still have
little bigger.
some. He might still have some goo on him, where he was just born.
You're not allowed to interact with him for a certain amount of time. So don't run out to the zoo. They're
Yeah.
not even going to let you get near him until he's been, through his most formative phase, I guess.
Probably to make sure the mom doesn't reject him.
That would be really sad.
Yeah. Anyway, you've wasted a perfectly good amount of time that I don't know with us. We will see you guys next week. Please buy our stuff and tell your friends about this show. Bye.